The other day I was driving down the road and Yogi piped up from the back seat, "Hey Mom, you're going 36 miles an hour." I was not aware that he could see my dashboard. And like a good elementary school podcaster, I said, "Good eyes, bud. I am going 36 miles an hour." Then he added, "But the speed limit sign said 35. Kids are surrounded by numbers in the world around them, and it can be quite exciting to start to be able to recognize those symbols and figure out what they mean. Educators call this numeral recognition. Hello, I'm your host, Miriam Brown. In addition to my teaching certificate, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's in curriculum and instruction. I spent the last decade as a public school teacher, and I want to give you insider tips on how to help your child do well in a system that might otherwise fail them. Today, I want to focus on helping kids learn to read number symbols. Let's start today by debunking a popular learning myth. It's about learning styles. The theory says that some kids are visual learners, others learn best by hearing someone talk about things, and others learn best by doing hands-on activities. It's a nice idea because we really want to believe that all kids are equally intelligent, and that if we somehow can teach them in the way they learn, they will all reach the same level of academic success. I certainly wish that were the case. And I do believe that we're missing out on kids' potential. That's why I'm doing this podcast. I want more kids to start school with the knowledge that they need to succeed. However, there really is no scientific evidence that shows that the theory of learning styles is true, or that matching how you teach to your child's learning style will help them learn better. Maybe that's because they haven't figured out a good way to figure out which learning style your kid has. They also haven't figured out good ways to teach to all the learning styles that work any better than the old ways. I think this is because, in fact, all kids learn better by doing things. There's probably no such thing as a kid that's an auditory learner who learns best by listening to someone talk than by doing a hands-on activity. So instead of worrying about your child's learning style, it's best to consider that you want to get your child actively involved in learning. And although the theory of learning styles isn't really helpful, using multiple senses, sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste in the learning process actually does help. This year, brain researchers from Oxford University found a very scientific reason involving neural circuits why this is so. But let's keep it simple. Kids are used to using multiple of their senses to learn. That's why they stick things in their mouth when they're babies. Taste and feel helps them to discover what objects really are. So knowing this, if you involve more of their senses and more movement in your child's discovery of numbers, they will learn better and have more fun. So let's talk about ways to extend their knowledge about numbers. In the second and third episodes, we learned how to get the child to say their numbers and connect those words to quantities. Now let's learn how to help them recognize the numerals or number symbols. The first way to help your child start recognizing number symbols can begin when your child is a toddler. Reading books about numbers introduces them to the shapes of numerals. I love the little board books for toddlers that have things for them to touch and flaps that hide little surprises. I think they engage toddlers in reading because the more senses they involve, the more parts of their brain you recruit to help them with learning. For learning numbers, there are several great touch and trace books. You can help your child move their finger along the numeral while you say it for them, and there are pictures that show the quantities. It's really important to point out these quantities so that the child continues to connect the word, the symbol, and the amount together. Here's a recording of me reading one of these number books to June, who calls me Grandma. 5. Let's do with your finger. Let's make a 5. Yeah, let's count the penguins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's make a 5. 5. Let's do it again. 5. What's in there? I wonder if there is a scratch and sniff number book out there. I did find some number cookie cutters online. That might be a fun way to practice learning the numerals that would involve sight, touch, taste, and smell. Frosted numerals with sprinkles. I should buy those. And then watch the numbers on my bathroom scale go up, up, up. Maybe I'll just get them for June's mom. Once they are familiar with the numerals in their books, you can start to point out numbers that you see in other places. You might say, "Hey, this clock on the stove has a 1 on it." You might introduce them to the calendar on your wall. Here's an activity that I did with my friend Javi. Okay, I want you to circle all the 6s. Good. Good job. We looked at the calendar and he got to circle all of the 6s. Kids also like to play with your cell phone. You can open your texting app and say, "Can you touch the number 3?" They like to see the phone put what they typed into the conversation box. You don't actually have to send these silly number strings, but it is fun for the kids to text them. You might even buy a little toy cell phone and practice numbers by pushing the buttons. There are also lots of games that help kids start to recognize their numerals. Uno is a card game that my family loves playing. It helps them practice both their numbers and their colors. When your child is little, you can play on a team with them and help them until they know their numbers well enough to play by themselves. In this recording, you can hear that June is helping me. And, Good one. That's a 5. Let's see the numbers when we put them down. Yeah, you did follow the number. It's a 2.
Okay.
How many do I have to draw?
4.
Anyway, having little kids be involved in the big kids' games helps them. Another fun game is a scavenger hunt for numbers. I let the child pick a number of the day. I get some sticky notes or scrap pieces of paper, and I write the number in several fonts on each slip of paper. Then I make some scraps that have other numbers or symbols. With older kids, I like to add a few scraps of paper that have the number word written out with letters for extra excitement. I hide the scraps around the house, and the child goes to find them. Another fun game to play is one that we used to play on road trips before handheld electronic devices were there to keep us quiet. Have you ever played the license plate game? As you drive along, you look at license plates and road signs. We used to play it with letters, but you can also play it with numbers. First you find a 1, then you find a 2, and so on. It gets trickier when you start to look for 11 or higher. So perhaps you might want to play it on shorter car trips, especially because numbers go on forever. As your child learns their numerals, they will start to see them everywhere, on cereal boxes, on road signs, at the grocery store, on clocks, and on the pages of their books. It will be like when you learn a new word, and then all of a sudden you hear it all the time. It was always there, but until you learned it, you never heard it. It's really fun to see your child start to discover that the world around them is full of numerals. You can have some interesting conversations about what quantities the numerals they find represent. Does the numeral tell you how much money something costs? Does it tell you what time it is or how fast you can drive? These are really important things for kids to start thinking about, and the conversations that you have with them are your most important tool in helping them to have good number sense. But be careful. You might end up with a little backseat driver like Yogi. Anyway, now it's time to put down your phone and go play with your kid.